children of the night. What music they make.
They're all gonna laugh at you!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What's up?
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brain.
Coming to you live from the Quad State area of New York, Connecticut, Maryland, and Michigan, because I think if you find a wormhole, they all touch somewhere. It's the Final Guys. And like half the episodes of Blossom way back in the 90s, this is a very special episode. He's been in front of the camera and behind the camera in movies that we've talked about and loved, like Scare Me and Werewolves Within. But this year, this is like his cotillion. It's his breakout year, 2022. We have Josh Ruben, who is in both Blood Relatives that we reviewed a couple of weeks ago and the latest release on Shudder, A Wounded Fawn. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Thank you so much. Look at this panel. Look at this crew. I just want to know what you review, how the Blood Relatives review shook out. Are we like a 3 out of 9, a 3 out of 5, a 3 out of 3? Just a 3.
That's like IMDb tough scoring. We're much
I know,
easier.
truly. I don't know what it is about the bombing they do on IMDb, but sometimes they do it on Letterboxd. But I'll take it. Just happy to be, wearing my sweatshirt and making movies.
Hey man, I'm the vampire fan in this group, and I love that movie.
Yes, Jack.
With it. So you get the stamp of approval from me.
Well, I'm the half Jew who really enjoyed going to Taylor, Texas, and shooting a movie about a Jewish vampire. So it's a pleasure to be here.
You were nice and creepy with trying to taste the girl. I loved that.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about poor Victoria Morales. I met her on Plan B, a movie I did with Natalie Morales, this American High movie, and I was also creeping on her at a gas station. She's like, why do we always find ourselves in this dynamic? But it worked out pretty well, thank God.
That is weird.
It got extra points for me for all the Screeching Weasel nods in there.
Yes! Oh my God. He's so generous with his tracks, yeah.
Yeah, you were hitting a lot of like sweet spots with this group, by the way. And
That's
my wife recently found out she's part Ashkenazi Jew, so we're like, "Oh yes, a movie for us! Here we go, enjoy." Mazel.
Yeah, that's right. Come on down, crew.
I think the day for night scenes got me. I watched like a bunch of B movies from the 80s, and there are so many day for night scenes in them that are like hysterical. And when I see one, I'm like, day for night.
Oh yeah, Noah leaned into it. I'm so happy he did. It was so fun, so great, and we didn't have to, wake up too late. Rather to shoot at real night. We did a little bit of real night, but shoot during the day was pretty great on our crew's hearts and minds for what peanuts we all got paid.
Nice. I do want to ask you a question about something I've asked every producer we've had on here because the answer is always different. What the hell does a producer do?
Legitimately, someone the other day asked me this question. A couple of writers who I'm working with, they were like, someone just asked us if we would produce for them. What is it? What exactly is it? What do you do? And it's anything you can do within your skill set to get the thing made. Is my interpretation. So as like for me as a writer and not a paperwork person, let's say, or I got a 950 on my SATs. Don't ask me to do your budget. But I do know actors, and I'm good with sound design. I'm good in the mix, and I've done a couple of movies where I've kind of fallen down and fucked up, and where I'd go back and I wish I could cut this much or change this, that, and the other thing. So you're going in, you're helping someone just based on your experience with your previous projects, make the thing better, whatever that means to you guys. So, if I were to bring a script to y'all, you would use your genre knowledge to go, hey, based on all these other things I've seen, this feels a little derivative. Could you take it further? Could you make it better, more original, this, that, or the other thing? If you've got, a great ear for music, Chad loves Screeching Weasel. Hey, maybe there's another artist that whatever it is, anything you could do to make the thing kind of sing. And Noah had seen my first movie, Scare Me, which is all but a black box play, and was like, I have a movie that's that kind of intimate. Would you be interested in helping out? And I said, hell yeah. I don't do budgets, but I'm happy to introduce you to this incredible actress and to do a bit of administrative stuff, and then just to be there to kind of be just your director because you're in front of the camera, or to help out visually if there's anything that I feel like we might have an opportunity. I don't want to miss it, all that kind of stuff.
All right. That is entirely different than every other person has said. I love it.
Well, I think we're learning no producers are alike. It's
Yeah.
whatever your skill set is what you do.
It's
There's
true.
money
It's
men,
true.
idea men, you know.
It's true. Mark Duplass will come in and be a different producer than like a Jerry Weintraub will be a different producer than, Lake Bell on a voiceover comedy film. It's all going to be different. It totally depends. In these days, someone like Sam Raimi, let's say, will not only simply by saying, "Hey, I love you as a filmmaker. I love this obscure movie I saw at Slam Dance. I want to put my name on it." That explodes the filmmaker into the genre market. Then also you can go in and help in advance of that, kind of adjusting it and making it as the best version of it could possibly be. That's really exciting because as I hopefully someday have my studio moment, or if I get even more traction, my movies actually make some money, I want to send the elevator back down to help out filmmakers in that kind of similar way, to go like, hey, if it helps for me to put my name on this, or kind of you put a quote on it or whatever, that's another way of helping out, Then people go, oh shit, well, this guy likes it. This great filmmaker I love's like it. I better check it out. Tarantino does it all the time,
Or you could be like us, scuffling at the bottom, and we just put quotes on each other's books, and nobody cares.
I mean, but hey, I'm sure high tide raises all ships.
That's right. We're in it together.
Yeah, just one of you assholes would be a high tide. It would help a lot.
Stretch back.
Right. We're right at the tide line.
Crabs in a bucket.
I think we should start with Wounded Fawn, because that just hit Shudder, and you are front and center in this movie.
Yeah.
And quickly, I'm just going to say, I really enjoyed the movie. It's like kind of like two different movies, and I guess we should throw a spoiler bell. We're going to talk about.
Oh yeah, it's very religious in here.
It's
a lot of
that's
bells
the
and
spoiler
stuff.
bell. So that means the spoilers. This sucker gets kind of surreal and trippy.
Yeah.
And when it took that turn, I think, at least for me, I took a deep breath going, okay, this can go one of two ways. I'm either going to really dig this or I'm going to check out. And I dug it. Thank God.
Thank God. Thank God. It would make this a really quiet car ride home of the drive, of the show.
It was really cool. But I just want to start off by saying, I've always thought of you as a pretty funny guy, is my initial impression. But looking back at Scare Me and now this, man, you've got this thing where you like are funny, and then on a dime, you become menacing. And I kept thinking like Evil Dead, and like you go from like Ash to Jack Torrance or something like on a dime. So number one, well done. I want to talk about that final scene later, but like,
thank you.
My wife has questions.
I'm sure my wife had questions. Can you imagine going to the theater being my partner? Yeah, it's like, oh, that's what you did in the sink.
What was your approach to that? You're the serial killer. What's your approach to that?
Well, Jack, you bring up a good point. Just kind of an interesting point. It's fun to talk about. Just kind of this angle, for folks who know me as a comedian, or just as someone who comes from a comedic background, who's donned prosthetics playing Precious Plum's mama or goblins or Hicks or whatever it is. The acting challenge was really to be a seductive, essentially Jeffrey Dahmer or a Patrick Bateman, and part of that was
Patrick Bateman.
Yes, it was kind of like I have to tune in to skewer the kind of narcissistic personality who I love to make fun of. It's very easy to do that. Oh, you've got to have the exotic fucking murder weapon down to the Bognock because other slashers use a machete, and how you wouldn't dare. Preparing was really just kind of trying not to be funny, trying not to get caught trying to be funny, and then when Act 2 kind of ratchets things up, to lean into my kind of inner Ash and without totally copping Bruce Campbell. That's why it's sort of a dream role. You get to play the baddie, which is the most fun thing, but you also get to play terrorized, and I love playing terrorized in the context of a feminist phantasmagoric, Greek Furies film. I mean, how cathartic is that in the era of we're kind of in today. So the challenge was, again, it was just like digging my heels in and playing grounded after a whole career of playing sketch, basically. I mean, I auditioned for Saturday Night Live thinking that would be my route. And, the other day someone brought up Robin Williams and that trajectory, and that really warmed me because I grew up loving everything he did down to Live at the Met. And then you see him do Insomnia or 1 Hour Photo and you go, wait, what?
Yeah.
So anyone mildly makes that comparison for me, or if I can at least like Robin or like even John Leguizamo, not be pinned down, but also have the filmmaking kind of career and skill. And then to surprise you guys by going, and also I did this really hard horror movie that's sort of wicked and nihilistic. I love kind of following the train, not being able to be pinned.
By the way, I just want to bring up, you brought up the sink scene. Kudos to sound design.
Oh my God, the sound design.
I was like, I said, why are we going this far?
Turn up your sound bar, ladies. Yeah, I know. It's disturbing. It's hard.
That's a bridge too far. But it was great. I mean, it's accurate, right?
I was wondering how much of that Evil Dead stuff was on purpose, like the blue shirt even, and the fact that your character's name was Bruce.
So much of it too. I look back at Scare Me and I was like, damn, I didn't even consider that my wardrobe designer, Sean Durman, put me in a blue shirt and a white undershirt, a blue button up and a white undershirt. And I just thought that was a flattering conversation. I wanted to do that whole movie in Alec Baldwin's checkered shirt from Beetlejuice. We couldn't find it. I mean, I learned the other day, Travis, it just clicked. Travis was like, well, the guy's name is Bruce. I mean, come on. It's an homage. I mean, he truly set out to make, with the aid of Nathan Foundry, who wrote the original version of the script, an homage to Giallo and an homage to Raimi, to do something that was all practical effects. So I think he knew exactly what he was doing. And when I cracked open the script and was kind of mulling over whether I was going to do it, I knew right away that I would, because everything description-wise is laid out. We all knew we were buckling up for an in-camera practical effects movie, one that was going to be a creative endeavor and wasn't going to rely on CGI. And that's so exciting for me as someone who, grew up not only loving Raimi, but, making movies in the backyard and kind of, my God, I mean, my favorite scene is when 50 feet of fabric flies through the air in the middle of woods. And it's one of my favorite kind of moments. And it's just fabric in a wind machine,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's freaky.
Yeah, it's freaky as hell. Yeah.
Those practical effects are going to age better because, when you go back and watch stuff now, like even the end of Hellraiser, you watch it in the, the blue lightning or whatever, if we watch Hellraiser, it's a little dated. That practical stuff ages a little bit better.
I agree. You kind of go, oh, that's real. That really is in the space with the actor. I mean, even when the CGI comes in and augments Mullenbar's face from a dog to a girl, I'm just like, holy shit, how does that work?
Oh yeah.
How is it so effective? It's ethereal, but
you guys also gave it that. It looks like a 70s movie.
Oh
well,
yeah.
There's like scratches in the film and little swirls and stuff.
Some of the color.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I actually wish that I had stumbled upon this like surfing channel. That's what this felt like to me. It's like you stumble upon it, you start watching it, and then you're like, oh my God, what is this movie? You start telling your friends about it because
it feels like the kind of movie that you would stumble upon as a kid, a VHS, like when you'd first find Cronenberg and put it in. It kind of changes your outlook on movies or people. Or I totally agree with you. It's just as a fan of even like movies like Basket Case, you kind of go, oh my God, it feels like of the era. It's grimy, it's weird. It's should I be watching this? And in that taboo nature of the quality of the piece, it makes it more fun to enjoy. It becomes our kind of secret. Have you seen this thing? Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Speaking of, you mentioned your performance being grounded. I'm sure you get asked this in every interview, but I got to ask about the final scene.
Oh, you just stole my question.
Grounded for 5 minutes.
Fight!
Did you do that once? Did you have to do that many times? I mean, that went on for a very long time.
And how cold was the ground?
The ground was cold. It was the end of October in Princeton, New Jersey, which was just such a beautiful time to shoot. You're making a horror movie as the leaves were changing. I was just like, I was in heaven.
Yeah.
Travis suggested we go for it. It was the last 2 days of shooting. It was the second to last day of shooting. And by that point, as he puts it, we're all a band, and we know that by this point, Josh, your solo's up, and he knew I was, taking swings the whole ride. He knew enough to make the suggestion that he might be down to do it. And I was so down to do it. I come from a theater background, and sure, that's exciting. But I also know that movies, like this day and age, we need something splashy to kind of talk about. Your movie needs to really make some noise. And I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And so, yeah, the ground was cold and the rocks were, grinding my gams, and Travis was looking at the monitor, making sure that, my fiddly bits weren't coming out of my toga and all kinds of stuff. It was wet and everything. And, but it was awesome. If you think that was long, I mean, the film cartridge is 11 minutes. So there's another, and I think in the film, I don't know, there's like 7 or 8 minutes on camera, maybe even less. So there's at least another 5 some odd minutes on the cutting room floor of me laying there dead. And that was really, really awesome. Someone asked me the other day, it's like, how did you not break? And it's like, well, the circumstances are pretty fucking incredible. Yes, I have my giggling Jimmy Fallon moments and pretty much everything I do, but that was not a time to let myself do that, because when you hear the film roll, when you hear the film kind of, moving through the gate, everybody is on their best behavior and everybody's at the top of their game, because every foot of film is, that many more bucks, and you only have so many budgeted for every day.
I got to tell you now, my wife and we've been watching horror movies forever. We've been together 35 years. So, and my wife is the type of person, if we watch a horror movie and there's like a little kid or a baby, she'll go, that fucking baby better die before this movie's over. Like, she's so loving in real life, but in horror, she wants to see the worst of the worst.
Put it in a blender.
Yeah, she's all for that. Oh, why'd the kids live? But when you just kept going and going, she was like squirming, and then I started squirming. I haven't had a movie affect me like that in a long time. I was like, oh Jesus, just stop already. Just die. Please die.
For me, it's like the 1-2 punch of the end of Pearl.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching you writhe on the ground, and I'm like, okay, this is the 2 things I'm going to remember from 2022 is Mia Goth and you on the ground.
It makes me think of just whatever my next movie is, I'm going to have, because we're all of us directors. I don't even want to use the word competitive, but it's all kind of admiring and envious of each other. And that was such a last minute decision for Travis to go, hey, do this thing. But now it's the thing everybody's talking about. I don't even think for Scare Me or Werewolves, we had there was a lot of disparate feedback. They're very different types of movies, but with the next movie, certainly I do. It's kind of like, ooh, what's that? You don't want to set out to make, it's kind of like setting out to make a viral video.
Yeah.
You'll fall flat on your face, but you do want to be conscious of what can we do, or I'm going to be conscious of for my next thing. What can I do to kind of push this thing, get people to talk about it? The way that like even Terrifier 2 is making a splash. They knew that they were just, they were going to level this thing up and throttle it, and look what happened. I mean, people just show up, and so it definitely gets my gears going, thinking about how I can make some noise on the next one.
Horror hounds like us are looking for what's that scene that you take away that you never forget.
Yeah.
And you can forgive a terrible movie if it gives you a scene that shocks the hell out of you and burns into your brain.
Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, exactly.
Truly. Yeah.
Well, Jack has proof she doesn't have a penis.
Jack's seen it.
I'll tell you what, though, we were talking about I mentioned the twist it takes at the end where it gets surreal. I appreciated that it was earned, that you mentioned the Furies. You were told everything right up front, and then it unfolds for you. So I didn't feel like it was cheating or like coming out of left field. Everything, while it still is a lot of interpretation going on, like I felt that everything was earned and appropriate.
From the opening shot, yeah, that's a really valuable thing. You kind of have to give folks, like my therapist calls it, a soft runway. It's like if you're gonna have the big talk with your partner, You want to start to plant the seeds, and the same thing works in film. You don't just want to suddenly have this be a guy takes a girl to a cabin movie and then the Furies show up. You want to plant the seeds that this is what's going to happen in this world. That's why so many executives, if you go on a meeting, they ask you about tone and why the world section of a pitch document is so valuable. It's like, well, this is a world where this can happen right from the get-go. You have fisheye lenses and it affects you this way, and this kind of gravity or this kind of score. It gets everybody ready primed for some like spectral trio kicking some dude's ass in the woods.
Look, this is why we get Shudder for movies like this.
Yeah.
We'd love to be surprised by these movies that just come out of nowhere, seemingly to us. And you're like, whoa. So, like, this has been a tough year. The four of us will admit we've had a tough year because we always do like a top 13 movies of the year. And I'm like, man, I'm at 7. And we're almost at the end of the year. And December, I don't know, always seems to like it senses our, dismay. We can't find anything. So this is a perfect end of the movie, save, Hail Mary, pass that we caught. And I hope a lot of people catch this. Who caught the Hail Mary, Jason? You're a Pittsburgh fan. Was it Swan? Lynn Swan?
The Hail Mary. What the fuck are you talking
The
about?
Pittsburgh. You know nothing.
Immaculate
You're too young.
Reception?
Sure.
Mary Hale caught it.
Yeah.
Mary.
Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terry Bradshaw caught it.
Nathan Hale.
Finkel is
Bradshaw
Einhorn,
caught it.
Einhorn is Finkel.
Finkel is Einhorn.
That's who caught it.
Oh, that's so funny.
Hey, now, you've had some amazing people in your movies. I'm spacing on her name from Scare Me, who's in The Boys, and
Oh, Aya Cash. Oh my god.
Oh, my
Cash,
God.
awesome.
spectacular. And then the folks in Blood Relatives, amazing. But you're great in this movie. Sarah Lind is going toe to toe with you. My God, she's great.
She's such a force. I'm so glad people are kind of. I mean, I don't even want to say discovering because Sarah's been making movies for, for so long. Her filmography is formidable.
Mhm.
She's also gone toe to toe with Steven Seagal and Nicolas Cage. She's done movies. with-
Whoa!
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yes, she has.
You say something
This is
about
Jason's
Steven
specialty.
Seagal?
Whoa!
I love hating on that guy so much. What
Dude,
piece of shit movie was she in with him?
There is a whole TikTok dedicated to him just kind of like sort of teaching, I guess, Aikido. And it's phenomenal just to kind of watch him like sort of lazily kick people's ass. And be,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
happy about it. It's just like chef's kiss. No, Sarah Lind is a force. And what was so cool was to get to New Jersey and to sit down and you're like, sussing each other out. Oh, is she going to be cool? And is it, is there going to be drama or whatever it is? I'm very easygoing, very adaptable. And right away, I just kind of knew this was an artist. This is not someone who's going to need to like put in sad music and stand in a corner. No shade thrown at anyone who needs to kind of get there to do that. But she loves to just dive in and take risks and take swings. And I'm like, that's what I like to do.
And if you're not in love with her from,
I said Wolf Cop.
yeah,
As soon as I saw
I was
her.
gonna say if you're not in love with her for Nick Cage and Seagal and this movie, freaking Wolf Cop, come on.
And Jacob's Ladder. I mean, 2 great movies.
Wait, she in the new Jacob's Ladder? I didn't know that.
I mean, Jacob's wife. I'm sorry.
Oh,
say
I was
Jacob's
sorry.
wife.
She's in
Yeah.
Tim Robins's or the other one? Yeah, I think they
Yeah.
made a new Jacob.
Yeah, she was a
is-
baby in the Tim Robbins one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Can't really judge a performance. Good crying, but yeah, no. She's really phenomenal. Just made it easy. This is a fucked up thing to say, but it was fun. Your actors, you're really listening to each other, and that's a big part of why I was excited to do it. But she was responding to me intimidating her. She was responding to me bullying, and you can see Sarah's like nerves and disposition change. You could see her be affected by what I was throwing out there, just kind of acting wise. You could tell she's really listening to me. So it was fun to terrorize her, but just as fun to be terrorized by her, by Tiffany. We all got to play 2 parts, and even in a mask, she's just so formidable.
Let me tell you, the tagline for A Wounded Fawn should be dating is bullshit, have an arranged marriage. As a father of daughters, I'm thinking, oh God, if they ever go with this guy, please don't go with this guy. And if you do, get your revenge.
What's really fucked up about it is that the film is kind of it's a version of or kind of unfortunately accurate in terms of what women have to deal with in the dating world. You just never know who you're going to swipe right on. There are a lot of Bruces out there, maybe not ones who will brutalize you and put you in a can, but there's a lot of like know-it-all narcissists,
I'm glad you said that, because besides the Evil Dead context of Bruce, when I first heard Bruce, I thought the shark from Jaws.
Wow. Oh, funny. Yeah,
Predator.
Oh, totally. Good. Well said. Well put. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
They're out there. Especially if you just want to get laid for the weekend. This is a good warning, but maybe we should show this to all the children.
When they're yelling to her to get out of the house and get out of there, I'm like, how? You're in the middle of nowhere in that guy's car. Like, what are you going to walk down the driveway, run into the woods?
Really breaks when she says, "I'm just going to call an Uber," and I'm like, oh, and you just know they're in the middle, and that's going to be 20 minutes, and what the fuck's going to happen in 20 minutes? I mean, just yeah,
that's rough. So while we still have you for a few minutes, let's move back to Blood Relatives. Let's give that some. We'll air that out like a bottle of fine wine. Jack should lead it off because he is. I hate vampires, and I really like that movie. So kudos. That's amazing to turn me. But Jack is easy. Jack is like a nip on the neck, and he's turned.
Oh,
I don't love every vampire movie, though. There's a lot I don't like. I grew up watching Hammer movies and Kolchak and all that.
This is a vampire movie without busty blondes, though. So for you to like,
that's true.
No, with the hammer of it all, that's right.
But what I loved about that one was it's a family road trip with vampires. So I loved the clever things they were doing with the vampire mythos. But also I was enjoying a road movie with a, father-daughter, that if you made that just a father-daughter road trip, I don't want to watch that movie. But put fangs on him and I'm all in.
Yeah.
And then you come along, Mr. Renfield. How did you get involved with that movie? And like, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Noah was actually a member of the test audience, the test screening audience, test screening audience for Werewolves Within. Right in the middle of COVID, when we had a version of the film we were testing. We tested a few different versions, a few different cuts of it. Noah was one of the audience members, and it was over Zoom because it was in the middle of the pandemic, and there's this observational, function of Zoom where you could basically spy on people. And I was like, I'm sitting there and I'm observing all the notes on my movie and taking notes and everything. I'm like, holy shit, that's the dude from Blooper. I love that guy. He's going to be in Knives Out. I just recognize this character actor. And I have this follow-up call with him, and I thank him for his notes, and he gave really thoughtful notes. He was super enthusiastic about the movie, and he also said he loved Scare Me, and that he had a film that was about as sort of intimate as Scare Me, and that he wanted to do the triple threat thing. He's like, hey, I want to produce, and I wrote, and I want to star in this film, and you did it. What's your advice? Just like I went to Jim Cummings of Thunder Road for advice on Scare Me. Hey, how do you do it? How'd you do it? And he said, would you be interested in producing it? And I said, look, I'm not a paperwork producer, but I'll connect you to some talent and I'll do some administrative shit. And then before we knew it, we were flying to Taylor, Texas. Shudder very, very quickly, like God, a testament to how wonderful and just how trusting they are of the horror community and of filmmakers. Just like take a swing. They financed the film for peanuts, really, considering what we made. And we were in Taylor, Texas only weeks later, shooting it. And within a year, we were premiering at Fantastic Fest. I was, awesome. Essentially, it was really cool. I essentially was the producer at the monitor, just kind of helping Noah make the best version of this thing we possibly could make it,
And how did your two movies land? Was that planned to have them so close to each other?
No, not at all. It's wild. I got the offer to do Wounded Fawn. Travis DM'd me on Twitter and said he was so sweet about it. I actually just found the DM some moments ago. I was reading it to a previous interviewer. I was like, this might be fun. And he said, hey, based on your experience as a filmmaker and your success as a filmmaker, would you still looking at stuff as a performer? I said, absolutely. I want to do it all. I ended up going to New Jersey at the end of September. We wrapped the movie in late October, around I think maybe even after Halloween, Wounded Fawn, and then Blood Relatives started right before Thanksgiving, and I missed that first week. I had another gig, and so right afterwards, right after Thanksgiving, I fly to Taylor, and then we wrap mid-December, and then both movies, boom, boom, they have similar festival premieres, and they both played fantastic at Beyond Fest. It was really crazy how quickly it all happened. Now you go on Shudder and you're like, wow, they're one Boulay brothers apart. Holy shit!
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm always curious how. So you personally, how do you handle the kind of feast and famine nature of your business? Like you're shooting movies back to back like that, and then now you're filling time talking to idiots on YouTube.
Even before talking to idiots on YouTube, I would just sit there and wait and kind of go like, if there isn't another gig coming my way, because it is such a gig economy life, I better get some output going. And so one thing I did was I started to adapt, with the aid of a brilliant artist, a graphic novel, or create a graphic novel. So in my downtime, I started getting back into the comic book world. I was such a comic book fan, and I'm pretty excited about this graphic novel called Darla that Brianna Tippett and I are working on. She drew the shit out of it. It's like 155 pages. We have a publisher and this great company called Invader. And so it's coming out next year. Yeah. I have no idea how it will be received at all. It's a wicked, kind of twisted, weirdo tale. So no sense of how people are going to respond to it, because it's been in such a bubble just with Brianna and the Invader folks. But, that's what you do in the downtime, is you spec stuff. Or you say, okay, cool, output. What else can I do? I know that I can put this art out into the world, just like you guys are going to continue doing your show. That scratches the artist itch. I'm going to put this thing out into the world. And who knows what will happen, or what people you'll talk to, or opportunities you'll present. That's how you kind of deal with it. The trick is whether you hear something if it's a rejection, or even if it's a win, you got to make sure you get in your body and like take a walk. You got to make sure you hang out with your wife or your partner. You have to make sure you don't, spend all your time obsessively screening it up, which I can tend to do, or get obsessed with, output and relevancy and everything else. There's a lot of power in kind of hanging back and developing something, and then just surprising people with, the new thing, which is what's so great about right now, is people are going, holy shit, you do the comedy videos and do impressions and all this stuff. And now you're playing a serial killer, and he did this horror comedy movie with Sam Richardson. Wait, what are you? And I like that. Yeah, absolutely. So it's
let's get to that, because not only have you made a vampire movie in the sea of mediocre vampire movies, you made something that rose above the rest, the crowd. But each one of us on this podcast can count the number of good werewolf movies, maybe on one hand,
Yeah.
And so when Werewolves Within came out, we're like, oh, thank God, there's finally something else we can actually put on the werewolf list.
Bless you for saying. Bless you indeed. I mean, when I heard that, the opportunity had come to me to pitch on making that movie, I was so excited, because I love werewolf movies. I actually told the cinematographer Matt Wise I want to shoot the same aspect ratio as Bad Moon and Silver Bullet, just as an homage to that, which I knew I'd want it to be animal. Anyway, Bad Moon, dude, it's still good. I stand by.
Is that the Eric Red movie?
Hell yeah.
My buddy Eric. Holy cow.
Do you know Eric Red?
We shared a couple of publishers together. He's an awesome guy.
I really dug his movie. I'm interested in his Bigfoot book too.
I think Bad Moon would be remembered better if it wasn't for that CG towards the end.
Yeah, I know.
I think it gets so much hate for that, and it's a fun movie.
Stretching and but the suit itself is
is awesome.
And the imagery is really, really rad, and the fight in the bedroom, it's all really good, and Thor and the whole thing based on the book. There's a lot that I would do with everything I've worked on. I could noodle on Blood Relatives and Werewolves and Scare Me. Like, I watch Werewolves Within now, and I'm like, to make it a better movie, I should have cut out the fucking lights in that bar and made them flicker so that you didn't see what the werewolf looked like, with the exception of, when it was right up in his face. You'll always do that with everything you do. And we moved so fast and furious on that movie. But it's cool that because it's, I would say, more spiritually a werewolf movie, it's cool that it's ended up on lists.
That's a great movie.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was such a great time. I mean, if I could make one of those a year, something that feels like that, I would.
So I want to let Chad, you were talking about people worried about output. Chad is not. So I'm talking about his writing. I want to let Chad ask a question, and I'm going to finish it off because I know you got places to go, people to see, movies to make. Let's tackle the Mummy next. Can you make us a great Mummy movie?
Yeah, why not? It'd be fun.
All right.
I think Luca Guadagnino is going to do it, but we'll see.
All right. So, Chad, what you got?
Did I have a question? Well, I've been asking. I
wanted to give you one last chance before I ask my asinine question to close this out.
Oh, I guess I have more comments, like what Josh just said about having a tendency. That's why I don't read my books again after going through numerous drafts. You can get stuck in that thing, and next thing you know, you're just stuck in this comparison game, or you need to jump right into the next project, in whatever it is that you're doing. I think that's I see a lot of people not doing that, and sitting back and kind of focusing on praise or Googling, what the reviews and stuff, and instead of jumping to the next thing. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that.
I actually wanted to tack something onto that, just what you said. How do you handle ego? Like, if no one in the horror community necessarily knew who you were before, 2020? Was that when you kind of?
Yeah.
And now it's like new Josh Ruben movie. Do you fight with ego? Do you fight with dealing with praise and things like Chad said? Or do you just ignore it? Do you soak it in?
I kind of don't. I want to say I don't care. I definitely care, and I'm certainly affected by it. I think I'm more affected by it when it's a publication I admire. Let's say the LA Times says they hate something. I actually haven't had that experience. Luckily, my two movies haven't made any money, but they're critically acclaimed, which is super rad. But the ego of it all, I think I don't know. I think I'm more affected by. I don't know if this answers your question, but if an individual were to tell me what you did really hurt my feelings or was really fucked up, or I really did not appreciate whatever, it really affected me, it was wrong, I feel a lot of shame, maybe just because of who I am, what I come from, my childhood, whatever, coming from a long line of people pleasers. I get more caught up in that than I do about whether something I put out is good to a publication or good to Rotten Tomatoes or not. That said, I don't know what it'll be like. There will be a day when I have my 40% of Rotten Tomatoes, and I shouldn't think of it and I shouldn't take it to heart, but I will take it to heart, and then I'll have to take my walk and then move on to the next thing. The valuable thing you have to do with ego, I think Mark Duplass is actually really good at this, is he's moving at such a pace and is creating so much and working with so many different people that he almost doesn't seem to be affected by it, or his ego isn't quite affected by it, because he's just creating art. And so I'd like to strive for, so long as I'm creating art, people are only going to think about the thing that I next put out. You're only as good as what you're kind of putting out sort of immediately. And I don't know if that answers your question, but as far as the ego of it all, I think what only matters if I'm like, I know if I get up there and I can explain why I did what I did and where I'm coming from and not fall flat on my face, like I think Scott Cooper did on Antlers. I don't think that could have been a successful thing. And you watch interviews with them, like, oh man, you're Scott Cooper. You did Out of the Furnace. Like, why did this not just nail? But it nailed for some people. I'm going to have that moment. That will happen for me. I want to make sure that I can explain why I did what I did, and that I feel good about what I did. So I don't know if that totally drives home your, the answer to your question, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and look, if your ego ever gets too big, just turn to your wife. She will smack that down.
Oh,
immediately.
she definitely will. Absolutely. Every time I ask her to bring me back down to earth, she's happy to just pull
That's what they
pull
love
down
to
the
do.
balloon. Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to close this out. I want to ask you a question. So now you've been around, like you didn't just pop up out of the ground in 2020.
I know. Look how gray I am.
Exactly.
Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I'm
I'm
with
all
you.
gray. I color this. I'm like Keith Hernandez from the Mets, man. Can you give us a fun celebrity story? You could even allude to the name. You can omit the name, but can you tell us like some just completely whacked out interaction you had with the celebrity along the way?
A whacked out interaction I had.
That is fun. Have you hung out with Larry Fessenden at one point? I keep trying to get Larry stories out of people.
I did hang out with Larry. So
See?
that's pretty
Yes.
good. I did.
Yeah.
He definitely after Wounded Fawn debuted at Tribeca, we ended up having a beers in some backyard somewhere, and he showed up, and I was just like going on and on about when to go, and I tried to get him in my movie. I tried to get him to play Emerson Flint in Werewolves because he lives not far from Fleischman's, New York, where we shot.
Right.
And I don't remember a whole lot about that interaction. We were definitely we had a few in us, but I just remember being so stoked that I was talking to like Larry Wendigo Fessenden. I told him that I was like, oh, I don't know if you remember, but I came up to you at Oriole 9, that restaurant in Woodstock, New York, and started talking to you about how much I loved your work. And he was like, okay, great. Like, such a legend, man. He just made a werewolf movie, I think docu style, called Blackout in the country, just with like with a
Really?
small crew. Yeah, with my buddy Jose, who was our sound mixer on Wounded Fawn. That's how I know that. I was like, he keeps posting pictures from him. I'm like, this dude's making a movie. I don't know if it's public info, but anyway, I'll break it here. Fuck yeah, Larry Fessenden's making a film.
Looking forward to it.
Yes.
Late Phases ruled. I don't care what anybody says. I love
Late
Late
Faces is awesome.
Yeah,
I love Late
really
Phases.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
we
start
had
I'm gonna start a podcast called Larry Fessenden and I Had Some Drinks, and then
Yo,
I'm just gonna let people go.
Dude has some stories, but I know that wasn't an immense, not really even a celebrity story. I'll say, oh gosh, what was the one I was gonna say?
Steven Seagal.
Oh, close. John C. McGinley. I directed him in a show. This is a dude from Scrubs. What an asshole. I directed him
Exclusive.
Yeah, completely. I think it was a Speed Stick commercial, and he had like a total meltdown because he already was like a petulant baby and couldn't take direction from, not only the client but the director as well. Had a total meltdown. My directing partner and I at the time went upstairs at the lunch break when he was still screaming to take a phone call with the next commercial gig, Lucky Charms or whatever.
Right.
And some poor PA came in and said, Mr. McGinley would like to talk to you because you walked away. And he started. And I said, oh, God, what's this going to be about? And he started chewing us out in front of the entire lunch line, going like, you left a 4-car collision at an intersection when I really needed you to, I don't even know what he was saying. And I calmed him down by going like, hey, no one needs to yell. Nobody needs to scream at each other. We would rather be making movies. Like, I love Identity, but we're here. We got to do a commercial every once in a while. And he immediately calmed down, and after lunch he was pretty much on his best behavior, but like, what a fucking grump. Oh my God. I have no problem saying it. And it's just a shame because I fucking love that guy. That dude is very, very talented.
Yeah.
He was not cool. He was not a cool guy.
Well, it's just like I love Jack Palance, but I don't think I'd want to like sit around him.
I mean, I would. I don't know anything about. I'm sure there's some stories, but
there's a lot of stories about him.
wow, yeah.
So that
I
was
got
pure gold.
Nicholson like in the same room, let alone Billy Crystal and Jack Palance in the same movie twice.
Yeah, that must have been crazy. But I can't thank you enough for coming on here.
Wait,
And
I got
can't-
one. I got one.
Oh, you got one more?
I'm
Jack.
sorry.
One more, yeah.
All right, fine. I'll
What?
let you interject.
What's one thing you learned from working on Adam Ruins Everything?
Oh my gosh.
Oh shit! That's
I
right.
love that show.
Wow.
He's a pain in the ass, that Adam.
I know. He ruins. He constantly ruins.
Ruins
everything.
everything.
Did he ruin it? That's all I want to know.
This is so sad because I got a 950 on my SATs and most info goes in my ear and out the other so immediately. There was some Some really interesting bit of trivia. I directed the summer fun episode, which was about a kid who went on summer break, and there was something about summer vacations actually being like really bad for kids. Like there's sort of an atrophy of education, which
they make them stupid. Yeah, I remember that.
Really, yes, because it makes them stupid. But there was just something about like the cognitive loss of educational sponging, where it's like because a lot of kids would spend, and it's a testament, to how you're brought up, spend the summer in front of the video games or the TV shows or whatever. I mean, I did, and I look how I turned out.
Exactly.
We all made it. But I think that was like, it was just kind of almost an obvious observation that I didn't quite consider, but I was also just kind of, I don't know, bummed out that it was a fact. I was like, just let the kids sit. We have to absorb. Get a sponge.
I just had to give a shout out. I love that show.
Me too.
Yeah.
Love Adam.
This ruins a lot. So, by the way, round of golf applause. Josh Ruben. So a little golf applause, everybody.
Nice.
Thank you for coming on the show. This is fantastic. I urge everyone, if you don't have Shudder, go get a subscription. Go watch Blood Relatives. Go watch A Wounded Fawn. It's $6, I think. I think it's $6 now. But if you get the month, if you get the year, it's $5, if I'm correct.
There you go. Free trial, dude. Free trial.
Scare Me, Werewolves Within. You can do the Josh Ruben all day long. You could just, binge. Josh and binge.
Do the Josh Ruben all day long.
Okay. All day long, baby. That's your next T-shirt, brother. So thank you so much for coming on here, and
Thanks,
we
buddy.
hope we're gonna watch your next movie, whatever it is, even if it's
I
not
hope
horror.
So.
We're in.
Appreciate you, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Battleship 2. All right, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. It was great to talk to you.
All right.
See you,
Take
man.
care.
Have a great night.
Game over, man.